Now tonight at 6 on WHAS 11 News, the story we've all been following for so many years. For the first time, the three men charged in connection to the disappearance of Crystal Rogers appearing in a Nelson County courtroom together. It is, of course, one of the biggest Bardstown mysteries, now with a trial date set by the judge. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Doug Proffitt. We have coverage for you coming up on this big day. Prosecutors want to try Brooks Houck, Stephen Lawson, and his son Joseph Lawson all together starting February 10th, 2025. WHAS 11 Shay McAllister and photojournalist Jessica Farley are joining us live from Nelson County with more on that stunning scene of all three men coming into the courtroom. Shay?
Doug, and it's important to note, it may not happen that way. That would be the prosecutor's ideal situation. Trial almost 1 year to the day from today, all three men together. We already know that one of those defendants' attorney, Brian Butler, is going to say no to that. He made it clear he plans to file an objection. The bigger question here, will they meet that February date with so much evidence to go through? Attorneys saying today it will be a lot.
All rise.
One by one, the men accused of killing Crystal Rogers filed into the courtroom. Joseph Lawson was wheeled in first, followed by his father, Steve Lawson. And then in black and white stripes with cuffs on his wrists, Crystal's former boyfriend, Brooks Houck, took his seat. It was a surprise for all three men to be brought in together, but perhaps a sign of what's to come.
So you're going to be filing a motion to try all three cases together, as I take it. And then
the prosecutor indicating he hopes to try all three men together in one trial more than a year from now.
Based upon the complexity of the nature and of the case itself and the discovery being so voluminous, we believe that a trial date set sometime mid-February of 2025.
But that date will only stick if they're able to get through the absolutely massive amounts of evidence, said to be more than a terabyte, including investigative files from three different agencies, the FBI, state police, and the sheriff's office.
When we received the case, it took us, Ms. Young, 6 months to go through the discovery, and that included Ellis and Ballard.
Jason Ellis and Tommy Ballard mentioned as part of the case file that was initially handed over to the prosecutor, but still no arrests in either of those cases, something a friend of the Ballards thinks will soon change.
This is not the only three that's had something to do with it. I'd bet there what I got in my pocket, that there's more out there that had something to do with this.
Back in the courtroom, attorneys for Joseph Lawson were fighting for a lower bond, saying their client isn't a danger to the public.
It's obvious that the court concedes that he is paraplegic. That's just a fact that exists, for him, and that obviously lessens his ability, right, to even have any sort of free movement, independent movement, which obviously goes towards the lack of him being a flight risk. And similarly, it goes towards the lack of him being a danger.
But the Commonwealth fought back, pointing to his criminal history, alleged involvement in Crystal's death, and actions after he found out detectives were eyeing him.
He also is a risk. Once he found out that he was a subject, a target of what happened to this young woman, he called around or texted around to associates, to friends of his, to cover for him, to give him an alibi that night of July the 3rd when she's missing.
The judge plans to rule on bond by the beginning of next week. And 20 minutes after it started, the defendants left the doors they came in, heading back to the jail cells, where they will wait for the next development in Bardstown's greatest mystery. Well, Doug, today was the first time father and son, Stephen and Joseph, had seen each other since they were arrested. We asked the attorneys if they were able to talk to each other. Attorney Ted Lavitt told us they passed each other and no words were exchanged.
Well, Shay, everybody's still wondering if the other unsolved Bardstown mysteries are connected in any way. What did they say in the court today about Jason Ellis and Tommy Ballard?
It was mentioned only briefly. You saw it in that story. The prosecutor said when he was first given this case file, it took him 6 months to go through it, but he noted that also included Ellis and Ballard. Importantly to note here, that would insinuate that Crystal, Tommy, and Jason are all connected in one case file. They didn't elaborate, they didn't tell us any more than that, but only that the prosecutor had received all three names and evidence in all three cases in one physical file. Very interesting there, Doug. We're certainly looking forward to hearing more on that.
All right, that next court date is going to be so interesting. Of course, we'll be there. Thank you, Shay. And again, here's where we stand tonight. Part of today's hearing focusing on the bond for Joseph Lawson, currently set at $500,000, $500,000. But as we've been telling you, his attorneys now want it lowered to $50,000. The judge, as Shay reported, will make a decision sometime next week. Stephen Lawson's bond sitting at $250,000 after a judge lowered it last month. And the bond for Brooks Houck, that's the whopper of a bond, remaining at $10 million. The judge previously denied a request for it to be reduced.